With continued reports from official sources regarding a potential new Russian attack on Kyiv, let's take a look at the situation. We'll start with the current area of combat in the Donbass region, focused on the city of Bakhmut in the Donetsk Oblast. For many months, Russian regulars and later the Wagner Group mercenaries had been attempting to take Bakhmut through frontal assaults. Ukraine dug in a forward position, repelling the attacks, while also being aware of the option to retreat across the river running through the city should the need arise. The Russians took immense casualties in over 6 months of fighting. A new strategy was then adopted. Russia attempted to capture the much more lightly defended town of Soledar, a salt mining town on the northern flank of Bakhmut. This was done successfully, so the Russians attempted to push home the strategy of attacking Bakhmut's flanks. They began another flanking attack from the south. They've since pushed to within close range of the critical supply lines for Ukraine in Bakhmut, which Russia is now attempting to cut off. These include just one primary road and one secondary road. If that were close to occurring, a Ukrainian withdrawal would be likely, before the Russians could complete an encirclement. However, at the present moment, the momentum Russia gained in attacking the flanks has been lost. The roads in question run through elevated terrain, and Ukraine has set up a defense that so far has stunted 2 weeks of Russian attempts to push further. However, even if Russia were to take Bakhmut, the strategic gain would be unclear. Ukraine has spent months building up the defenses of the next 2 cities in line in this direction, Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. In addition, Russia no longer has positions flanking these cities from other directions, after the Ukrainian counterattack in early September drove the Russians out of Liman and Izium. So this largely militarily pointless battle, for which so many lives have been sacrificed, continues for the moment to receive the bulk of Russia's attention and resources. That also means the bulk of Russian forces are away from the southern front, where Ukraine is at some point expected to launch an offensive. However, recent official statements indicate that Russia may be planning to reopen yet another front, further spreading their forces thin. It's the long-rumored second Russian attack on Kyiv, with reports from official sources both in Ukraine and abroad that Russia is done bluffing on this front and is finally ready to make a second assault, potentially on February 24th, the one-year anniversary of the start of Russia's first failed Kyiv campaign. During that campaign, Russia managed to occupy some territory, indicated here in green, but in the critical battles to prevent the capture of the Ukrainian capital, in the city's northwestern suburbs, the Russians were stonewalled in extremely bloody fighting and eventually pushed back. Russia later withdrew completely from the area, and has since then been resorting to missile strikes and drone attacks as its only action against the city of Kyiv itself. Should this change and Russia launch a new assault, with or without Belarus's help, and that's something we've discussed on previous videos, it seems likely to end in military failure, as the terrain is not only swampy, in addition to the dangers of the Chernobyl nuclear plant, which Russia had occupied in the first Kyiv campaign, but Ukraine has also been building up enormous defense lines ever since it regained control of the territory back in April 2022. These defenses not only cover the areas that Russia attacked across last time, but all the way across Ukraine's northern flank. If Russia were to undertake this attack, they would have a significant portion of their already worn-down forces committed to both the new assault on Kyiv and the continuing campaign in the east. One theory is that, although some Russian commentators claimed that the first assault on Kyiv was a bluff to attempt to open things up in the Donbass, that this new attempt actually would be such a bluff, with the hope that the whole distraction in Kyiv would provide the opening to finally capture Bakhmut. Either way, it would mean Russian attention is squarely focused on the north and east, distracting from the anticipated Ukrainian counteroffensive in the south, one which could potentially have long-term ramifications. In fact, some reports indicate that Ukraine may wait to launch their counteroffensive until Russia has exhausted the strength of its expected upcoming campaign, with the idea being that the perfect time to hit the Russians in the south would be when they're overcommitted and overextended in Kyiv and the Donbass. The reason that an assault in the south could have such dramatic ramifications is because of what it would mean for Crimea. If Ukraine was able to take Melitopol, the path to the Perekop Isthmus and the northern border of Crimea would be wide open. With Ukraine having already demonstrated the ability to take out the Kerch Bridge, this would essentially place Crimea in a state of siege, which could have wide-ranging effects on a Russian regime that's built a significant portion of its legitimacy on territorial irredentism, with the largely bloodless capture of Crimea in 2014 as its signature achievement. For now, eyes remain on the conclusion of the Bakhmut campaign and the potential start of a new Russian offensive on Kyiv. We'll certainly be following it, so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you like this content, and please share with anyone else who might be interested to help grow our community. Please leave a comment to give the video a like, and check out the project that forms the basis for these videos at apoliticalworldmap.org. For now, thank you so much for watching. I'm Alex, I am out.